Good afternoon. We are back. This is the Board of County Commissioners, and these are the budget presentations. It is 1:38 p.m. and we are kicking off with public
Defense.
Cole. I'm going to pass it to you. Or should we pass it straight to Patrick?
We can, we'll be kicking it off for public defense and we can just pass it right over. Thank you, Commissioner.
I cannot hear Nicole.
Take it away, Patrick.
Okay, take it away. All right, well, good afternoon, Commissioners. Patrick O'Connor, the Director of Thurston County Public Defense. Joining me today is my Fiscal Manager, Jose Vargas. He's appearing remotely, and to my left, Mia Pagnata, our Executive Assistant. Well, I thank you for the time. I know I have 45 minutes, so I will try to use my time wisely. And I don't know the format specifically that the commissioners are looking for, but my approach to this is to dive right into the exercise that we've been asked to do. I'll do just a little bit of background for the public. Thurston County Public Defense is a constitutionally mandated service that the county is required to provide for individuals accused of crimes, and that's what our office does. I'm going to pause here for a second to just let the commissioners know that upon receiving the directive, Jose Vargas, our fiscal manager, myself, and others have worked very, very diligently over these past couple weeks, countless hours at this point, to meet the directive. And I think for our department, if we get a directive, we follow it, and we followed it here. So what you have before you is a hard copy. Before I get to the slides, because I really think it's probably imperative that I address the reduction exercise first, and then get to our budget change request next. Our reduction exercise that you have before you does touch upon our highest priority in our budget change request. So those two are interrelated in that regard. So with that, I'm going to review this document. There's a lot of information on here. The financial team are seeing this for the first time as well, so there's a lot to digest. I suspect that there will be some follow-up conversations with the team, and of course, we will be here whenever the commissioner summons us back for more information in your decision-making process. So I want to start off with the exercise required our office to take an 8% reduction. The total dollar amount proposed in the directive was $662,600, or it might have been $663, close enough. But the first piece of information I'd like to share is it's actually, as our understanding is, the board's directive is to get to the dollar amount, in a reduction of general fund dollars. And so that $663,000 for our office is actually an 11.1% reduction in our budget. It's not 8%. The reason being is we have about $1 million worth of positions that are funded through other organizations like State Office of Public Defense, the VHA, and so working with Nicole and Jennifer, identifying those positions and pulling those out of the overall 8% to get to the dollar amount of $663,000, which is our understanding of the directive and the exercise. So although this says 8%, it's actually 11.1% for our department. So it's a big dollar amount. There's just or percentage, so it's higher than the 8%. So I just wanted to make that point. Again, as we went through this process, we identified those positions that, again, are not general fund impacted at the end of the day, because they are positions in our office that are funded in other ways. As you know, our office is pretty lean. The majority of our budget is either in salary and benefits for staff employees, or in professional services, or service revenues that we need to pay conflict counsel when we have to assign cases, legally mandated, required cases that present ethical conflicts of interest for our office. So that is essentially our budget in a nutshell. And I'm going to walk through the exercise that we took to meet the directive. And at any point, please, I'm happy to answer questions. If they are hyper-technical, I'll be turning virtually to Jose, who's on the call, to answer any further questions. So
can I just
please
ask Robin, wasn't the goal, I mean, it's always good to see a deeper cut for perspective, but wasn't our goal 8% of general fund related?
It is 8% of general fund, but the general fund includes, revenue from, for Patrick's office, it includes, expenditures that are supported by revenue from like the Office of Public Defense, or we didn't factor those things out when we calculated a dollar amount. If we had, we would have been shooting for a much larger percentage than 8%. So Patrick's exactly right. The real target was the dollar amount.
Okay, got it.
Right, so with that in mind, that's, that's what we went through this exercise to get to that dollar amount. But just for clarity, and I think for good information, it's 11% for our office. That being said, over the past 4 years, what our office has remitted, general fund dollars, is about $2.3 million in the past 4 years. Obviously, we had COVID, where we had a reduction in cases that were coming into the system. And I'll speak to the trends that we've seen this year, but just by way of background, part of those remissions and our rates have been our less reliance upon conflict panel attorneys to take representation. So our dollar amount in our budget has stayed the same, but at the same time, we are relying upon contract counsel less and less over the years because of the number of defender staff that we have in our office. It's equal or more expensive for us to farm cases out, especially our felony cases, which is our biggest cost driver for our office, to conflict counsel based on their expense compared to the salary and benefits of a FTE defender in our office. So I say that because we had to go through this exercise to meet that dollar amount with that in mind, that eliminating public defender positions in our office does not save us any general fund dollars. So that's just, that is just the reality of our office and our business. So we went through this exercise, and what we've realized is, and we've been implementing this case management system over the past 2 years that the county invested in, which has taken all our criminal case files and stored them digitally in a system that has a lot of capabilities that we didn't have in the past. Specifically relevant here is our ability to firewall cases and prevent ethical conflicts of interest from being a problem for representing individuals that are appointed to our office, where we previously would have conflicted those cases out. So we've only had a short amount of time to go through this exercise of finding a reduction to that amount. But with this technology, that's a huge return on investment, just for the county, but for our office. And so we are estimating that we can save about 10 to 12 cases a month with this technology and firewalling cases, of course, doing everything ethically by the rules of professional conduct by the Washington State Bar Association. And that saves our office around $150,000 a year. We have the capacity internally. I will include that I will be back in the game in this analogy. So I will be taking felony cases again as a director. I did it the last time we went through this exercise in the pandemic, where we lost positions. And I'm going to do that again as a commitment to our office. So we also have some additional expenses by conflicting cases out, because cases go to trial. The conflict counsel get paid more to go to trial. Conflict counsel are entitled to extraordinary compensation. So that's a breakdown of how we get to our first step in meeting the $663,000. The second step, now we did follow through with, I guess I can pause if there's any questions. I'll just keep going, but if you have any, just please let me know.
I'll ask a quick question. Is there, because I don't see where we're gonna find any money. So is there any possibility these indigent appointments might have money rat hold, or when they get a conviction, we could, I don't know, make them sell their Corvette or do something to recoup some of the costs that go into your operation?
We don't make that determination of
It's strictly
indigency.
up to the judge?
The court makes that determination of
Can you
indigency.
rat some of your folks off that you think might have hidden?
I think that might be a conflict of
That'd
interest
be a
for us,
conflict.
Commissioner.
Well, if they're wearing big diamond rings someday, let me know. I don't know, it probably doesn't happen very
I understand
often.
where, I see your point.
Okay.
But, so to our next, step here, so that is $150,000, by exercising, keeping 10 to 12 more cases in our office, every month. The next, item to, in our reduction exercise is, so previously, we went through the exercise with the board's directive to identify our budget change requests that we could absorb, and we did that, we followed that directive. And our forecast for this year, remittance is about $385,000. And so I think we checked with Jennifer to make sure that the budget change request for $256,000 that we did submit, and that's in the materials, was the right path despite the board's recent change. So there's $256,000 that we were going to apply to our number one priority, which is an administrative manager position for our office, an office manager. We're an office of 53 staff and we don't have an office manager. And I'll get into that in a little bit in terms of the need. But the reason why it's relevant to this exercise is because we can still meet our mark and fund that position. The net gain from that reduction plus funding that position, that FTE is $140,000 in priority one. That's referenced in the materials. We offset the $256,000 that has also been submitted to the board, as well as a reduction in our overall budget to help fund that position. I'll pause in case there's any questions about that. Okay.
Patrick,
Keep
if I
going for a
might,
second.
Yes, Jose, please. Oh,
I just wanted to, I felt it's appropriate for me to point out that the $116,000 that we're actually using for this reduction was originally intended to fund a second position. It's our second priority, which is the business application technician, which we will, understand we will not be getting now.
yeah.
So I just want to make sure that that was clear.
Thank you, Jose. Jose brings up a good point. We were, in that original directive, trying to find a way to pay for our two top priorities. We know the second priority is not a reality. But the first one is, while meeting the $663,000 reduction from our budget. And Commissioner Mejia, I thought I heard you. I don't know if you had a question. Maybe not. So,
Commissioner, we can't hear you. We see you unmuted.
so I'll just.
Could you hear me all right?
We can now.
Okay, I'm walking in the building right now, so go ahead.
Okay, so the next step in this exercise is we have a vacant legal assistant, one position. We would be eliminating that position. So that position right now serves as a receptionist for our office. We are a high public use office with foot traffic and a lot of phone calls in our office. And we would have to eliminate that vacancy. So it's not currently occupied by an employee. So we would eliminate that position, and we would have a drop in level of service, to be candid. And it will certainly impact other staff, but there's no other way for us to get to this dollar amount than to do that. So we would be down and lose a legal assistant, a vital legal assistant, one position to serve our public. But that's where we're at, and that's the directive we've been given, and given our budget, I really don't have another choice. The next dollar amount is, we have a dollar amount of $58,800 in our budget related to Blake funding. We do not need that $58,000 that's in our budget. We have three staff that are funded by State Office of Public Defense that do nothing but Blake work, 2 lawyers and a legal assistant, and they are 100% funded by the State Office of Public Defense. Again, those are 3 positions that I referenced earlier that needed to be.
Can I ask a
pulled
question
out.
on that?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
When you say you're funded completely,
Yep.
does that money come through our budget office and then pays salaries or
Right.
costs?
Yes. Yeah,
And what's the 58,000 then for?
that was a dollar amount that was included in our budget, and it's been there for a couple years now. I'm gonna turn to Robin and Jose, but
2020 or
something like that.
2021.
Early on, we were trying to, I think, figure out ways,
We
expenses.
we had a commitment from the state that they would pay for Blake costs. So we put expenditure authority in the public defense budget, the prosecutor's office, the courts, with the understanding that we'd get reimbursed for all of it. So
Yeah, so we
this
don't need
is-
it.
Yeah, because you now have contracts with the
Correct.
Office of
Right.
Public
Yes.
Defense.
Correct, so.
Yes, and in fact, we are expecting $367,000 for 2024.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's part of our, obviously, and we do not need them, those dollars, so those are included. The next item to meet the goal is we will be, we've issued a district court capacity contract. We had the funding and the need. We'll be eliminating that contract to that contract council. And that's an $80,000 savings towards the exercise. We currently have capacity within our office to handle those cases. And again, to meet this goal, there's not a lot of ways for me to do it, but this is a tough decision that I have to make, but that's an additional 80,000.
Those are not conflicts, those are just extra.
There's a very small amount of conflicts on that contract, so some of them were overages. We've struggled with, COVID backlog. The COVID backlog is still a thing in our criminal justice system, both in district court and in superior court. So that was an exercise because we had the budget to continue to try to attack the backlog with conflict cases and some overage cases as well.
Well, why isn't this funded through ARPA if it's COVID backlog related?
Well, we have ARPA internal positions as well. So this particular position was to help with what would technically probably not be COVID-related work, but new cases that were coming in while our attorneys worked on the COVID backlog cases.
But still, it would be caused possibly because of COVID. So why not? I guess that'd be my follow-up.
I guess essentially at this point, we don't need this contract anymore. And going forward, we have enough staff right now. We have our COVID attorneys our ARPA attorneys for another year, doing some of this work. So I feel like by the end of next year, we will have been caught up on our backlog and able to have the capacity and no longer need this position, this contract. The next reduction in our budget would be the professional service legal services budget. Again, that's reducing our portion of our budget to provide counsel to conflict counsel at $151,000. Again, this is all what you've been seeing, a large percentage of our remission over the past several years. And we're very comfortable with cutting this portion of the budget because we're keeping more cases. And when we keep more cases, we don't spend as much money on direct representation, specifically in Superior Court. We're still gonna need conflict counsel, absolutely. But based on our expenditures on conflict counsel representation over the past 5 years, we feel very comfortable in making this reduction. And the last amount to get us there is a reduction in our professional services by $20,000, a little over $20,000. Again, that's based on rates of expenditures. Jose could speak to that, but he's confident. I'm comfortable. I'm always confident if he's confident, to be candid, that we can make that reduction again to get to $663,000, 11.1% of our budget.
Item number 5 and item number 1,
Yes.
is it really the same thing, but you separated it out to show what
Right.
could be attributed to the
Yes.
technology?
It's two different ways to do it, right?
So it's really the same.
It's the same
chopping off the
bucket.
same bucket.
It's
yeah.
the same bucket. It's the methodology, correct? So the first bullet point is us keeping 10 more cases. I'll be taking a half caseload because of the technology, because the ability to truly firewall a case within our office. Very confident in that. And then the second one is, yes, just overall reduction. Again, so there's a methodology to those numbers, right? Specifically, the last bullet is based on our remissions over the past 5 years. We see we're not spending that panel attorney budget. It's great to have, right? And I'll be, the big candid moment here is, again, as you guys know, I don't control court appointments. I don't control the number of court appointments. I don't control the kind of cases that the court appoints us on. So as you know, we have a very variable department, right, in terms of expense. So all we can do is forecast on our historical years, and that's what leads us to these conclusions. Can 2024 or 2025 be some kind of anomaly year? certainly can in terms of expense to public defense, right? Especially going through this exercise, if, we're reducing, in the criminal justice system, the stakeholders reducing their budget by X. If law enforcement numbers stay the same, right, and not obviously just the sheriff's office, but all our municipalities, right? We don't impact their budget. I don't know if they're going through budget reduction exercises or losing officers. But, if those stay static or go up, then, there's the downstream expenses, and that's pretty much impossible for us to forecast.
Yeah, I mean, you've said it, but if the appointments come, you're just projecting, but if the appointments come, you have to provide representation.
Correct.
It's not like at the treasurer's office or the assessor's office where they control the flow of how many people they see to talk about their problem.
Right.
There's no constitutional mandate to talk to X number of people about their property assessment. You, on the other hand, are trying to manage a flow that's controlled externally by the courts.
Right, yeah, it's an obligation and a liability to the county if we don't, and that's really all we do. There's really nothing else that we do in our office other than represent individuals appointed by the court that are indigent. And so, yes, those are our direct services. They're in the entirety of our direct services. But there's some great opportunities too, so hopefully I can transition to opportunities, but at least for me, I wanted to get right into the budget reduction exercise with a plan. And that's what you have from public defense is a plan. Ideally, obviously, we would not like to be in this situation, like I'm sure everyone else who's gonna sit on this side of the table. But you gave us a directive, we followed it, and this is what we've come up with. It still advances my mission though, and it still advances my department, despite losing a vacant position in reception, which I can tell you is gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt our professional staff. But these are the choices I have to make, and,
Pat, can I ask you, I obviously worked in a public defender office, a little bit smaller than yours, but not super different. If you eliminate that position, legal assistant, phone call comes in to your office, who's picking up the phone?
it's gonna get passed around on a rotation. Our paralegals have been working on this. I gave them the directive to start thinking outside the box because this is the reality. We're gonna have to lose a position to meet 11% of our budget. There's just no other way I can do it. I can't lose a defender because,
Right.
we just can't because it's more expensive for us to farm out cases than the number of cases we're getting. But it's a reduction in services, so I have a great team that's been thinking about different ways to do that. We're still gonna be open to the public. We have a plan in place to meet clients where they're at when they come in and then pass the phone tree around. But you're right, our phone never stops
I was
ringing.
gonna say, I mean,
It never stops ringing.
whoever is doing that is not doing anything else.
Yeah, but there's some technological opportunities, there's internship opportunities that we've reached out to Evergreen State College with to try to start to get some conversations going on how we can also be a community partner, but also meet a need. So we're gonna continue to be creative, but it is what it is. I can't get to this number any other way. So, I'm gonna be conscious of time. These are my trial attorney skills are still in place, but I think we started a little bit late, but,
Jose wants to say something.
oh, Jose? I can't see.
About
Jose
felony
has a comment.
cases.
Jose, please.
Yes, I just wanted to kind of expand on Commissioner Menser's comment and question regarding the number 1 and number 5. So number 1, felony cases are they are mostly, or they are all going to be B and C felony cases, which we average about $1,000 per case. Where the district case, the contract, we pay an average of $325 per case. So there's a significant difference on the cost between the felony cases and the district court cases. And you're aware of that. I just want to make sure that if everybody understands that portion on those two different line items.
Thank you, Jose. Yeah, so I mean, and again, so this sort of transitions into our presentation to the board. I'm gonna just keep, thank you, Rob, moving forward. I do want to note that, current trends in 2023, at least on our Superior Court number of appointments is up. And I think you've heard that probably all year, that we're seeing more cases in the justice system in 2023. And so for us, again, our most expensive cases have been in Superior Court. Right now, we have the capacity to handle those. But again, those are our big cost drivers, right? Or those types of cases. I'm gonna keep moving forward, I think, Rob, maybe through the general fund budget, unless there's any specific questions about these things or the other funds budget. So I do want to quickly talk about opportunities, and I appreciate the board allowing for this space. You know, as a director of a department, I have 53 or 52, I'm not watching this, 51 staff that are. You know, I was very candid and transparent with the directive from the board because I don't believe in hiding things from staff. There's a lot of anxiety. And so I appreciate this opportunity to advocate on behalf of our department for additional resources that we may not get, and I understand that. Great opportunities though in 2024 for Thurston County Public Defense. We have new opportunities, non-general fund opportunities that you've already seen through the Office of Civil Legal Aid to provide legal financial aid relief, obligation relief for clients here in Thurston County that don't, it's a grant opportunity. We're really excited about that. We're really excited about the NGRI position that you've already approved. So we have this growth and great opportunities in other areas. And that's great. That's great for our community. And that's great for our mission. We are really excited about the Building 4 move. I put it on 24 optimistically that we'll be able to get in there by 2024, but staff are excited about that. We work in tough buildings. I'll be candid. That's being a little bit diplomatic. So we're excited for a new opportunity and also for us to all be together. You know, the digital evidence management is still going to be an opportunity for us to improve how we gain access to that. We're getting closer, but 2024 is an opportunity for us to improve my professional staff's life with managing this digital evidence as well as the attorneys. 2024 professional development. I can't tell you how much, you don't see my training budget in here being cut. It's not a big training budget dollar-wise, but it is invaluable to our staff. We've had good retention as best we can, and part of that is because we need to invest in our staff, and the budget that we have in our training budget gives us that opportunity, and we want to continue those opportunities so we don't lose good people. And then increase the presence in the community. You know, we get a lot of opportunities, so do my staff, to continue to work in this community as public defenders, and being the face of this community means a lot to us. And so other opportunities to continue to grow our face in the community and represent those parts of the community that really support our work. Challenges, increased workloads. So as I mentioned earlier, we have seen a rise in felony cases this year. About 40 more cases every month, starting in January, is about what we've averaged. New appointments, we have the capacity now. Again, I don't know what 2024 holds. If it goes up to 60 or 80 more, then you'll be seeing me, obviously, you know, every quarter, but working with your financial staff to track, again, what are our cost drivers. Retention is a challenge. I'm sure you'll hear from other offices, but again, remaining competitive. Things like professional development, things like support, and addressing some of our organizational deficiencies. That's what our first priority does. And even though I know we're in the climate, we've made a proposal that meets the directive of the reduction, 11% from our office, but also allows us to make an investment in our department with our administrative service manager position. This is a dire need for my department over the next 2 years. It's been a dire need for our department for the past 3 years. To not have an office manager, a lot of things don't get met. The needs of our staff don't get met. We're talking human resources responsibility, public records responsibility. A lot of that falls on me. And going into next year, having to work some cases, et cetera, is going to be a challenge, but I'm up for the challenge. But I need that investment in our department. Again, we're still making the 11% reduction in our proposal to still meet that need
But-
and compliant.
Patrick, can I just clarify, because,
Sure.
you know, Commissioner Menser asked this question, it's not 11%, it's the 8%, right? But
No, it's
You're-
not. It's 11%. $663,000 is 11% of our budget.
But we all receive grant funding. I mean, all of that is getting just, if
think
it's coming
Robin-
through the general fund, right, it's getting kind of, it's the whole calculation of it. We're not,
It's 8% of the base budget.